Dogs are entitled to the right to vote. Anybody who would say otherwise must have a standard for why they would say otherwise. Any standard for why they would say otherwise must be based on some standard for who or what should be able to vote. Any standard on what or who should be able to vote must be based on something having to do with intelligence or ability. Any standard based around intelligence or ability for who should be able to vote must also apply to human beings. If we say that intelligence is the barometer for who should be able to vote, who is to say that we are not stepping onto a slippery slope which will conclude with us outlawing human beings below a certain IQ level, below a certain education level, or below a certain socioeconomic line being able to vote? No one is to say such a thing. History provides examples of plenty of standards like this being implemented to keep people who the elite or those already in positions of power would prefer not have a voice in the governmental system. Any standard against dogs must be a standard against humans.
Negative, you'll have 30 seconds to cross-examine.
All right. Is the timer ready? Ready?
Yep.
All right. My opponent ready? All right. Then let's begin. So first off, you stated that dogs are entitled to vote. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So how do you define the word sentient?
Sentient is simply having the ability, first of all, of being alive, and secondly, having the intelligence to live life and navigate it. Dogs obviously do. They navigate their lives every day.
All right. And do you believe that dogs have the ability to write?
To write letters?
Yes.
No.
Do you believe that dogs have the ability to communicate with humans
Yes.
in a way that humans will understand
Yes.
directly?
Yes.
All right. So moving on from that point, how would you say that it's a
And
slippery
time.
slope?
Negative, you'll have 1 minute for opening arguments.
Let's begin. So first off, we have to see these cases that my opponent has stated that dogs are entitled to vote. However, this is simply not the case because he's placed a burden on me saying that who or what would be able to vote in these cases, and we would have to define that as my specific burden and how I would apply that. So in these cases, I would say that who or what is able to vote as a government of humans in the United States of America. We can only recognize humans specifically as those being able to vote, as dogs are viewed by the United States and by people in the United States as lesser beings in these areas. So now moving on from here, he states that it would be a slippery slope that we would have to apply both same standards to both humans and dogs. However, as we can see, he defines sentient as simply being able to think or being able to act in those areas. However, we can also see in these areas that dogs cannot actually follow the same standards as both the humans can, implying writing, legibility, and or being able to actually read a candidate's name. He states that they can communicate with humans, however, not directly in a way that humans can actually understand within their own brains from that area. So therefore, my opponent's arguments are entirely invalid in these areas, and dogs should not be able to vote. We should maintain the same standards we have and have always had. Thank you. I'm now open for
And
cross-examination.
time.
Wow.
So for what, you'll have 30 seconds to cross-examine.
Would you agree with me that every person in the United States, aside from convicted felons over the age of 18, has the right to vote?
I would.
Would you agree with me that not every person over the age of 18 in the United States with the right to vote has the ability to read?
Can you please restate that?
Would you agree with me that there are people in the United States who can't read?
Of course.
Would you agree with me that those people, provided they are over the age of 18 and not convicted felons, still have the right to vote?
I would.
No further questions.
Alright. Affirmative, you'll have 30 seconds to conclude.
My opponent attempts to implement an intelligence test. Any intelligence test must have a standard. However, any standard he has offered may also apply to humans. He says that having the ability to read is the deciding factor. However, there are humans who cannot read and therefore would not be able to read the ballot either. I say that for humans and dogs, we have a liaison who can communicate to them the names on the ballot, and they can make their mark, whatever that mark may be. In fact, they can make their bark should they choose to do so. He has also said that they are lesser beings. I would point us to a history in the United States and elsewhere of lesser beings.
Negative, we'll have 30 seconds to conclude.
Am I ready? All right. let's begin. So first off, my opponent stated to CX of a point about legibility. Now he stated that I proposed an intelligence test, which I actually do not. He also stated that because humans are not able to read, we should take that under the same standard. However, this is simply not the case because he stated that we can interpret what people want by communicating to them the names on the ballot. However, humans cannot interpret a dog's bark. Therefore, they cannot vote because that would apply a large avenue for corruption in those areas. And we do not want corruption in elections. And my opponent simply advocates for the destruction of America in these areas. Therefore, the opposite. Thank you.